Hello everyone, Lisa Haverly here, Nature Superhero Network, doing some deep thinking today on our profession, occupational therapy, and what it means to be a holistic therapist, okay? And our profession as occupational therapist is typically described as a holistic profession because we look at the whole person when we are assessing, when we are analyzing the data through evaluation, when we are clinically reasoning to develop a treatment plan. We are considering all parts, including what matters to them, their interests, their strengths, right? And then we take that information and then we say, how are we going to support this client to be able to engage in what matters to them, okay? And so I think sometimes we feel really comfortable in maybe supporting mind and body. And if I'm wrong about this, put it in the comments. And we feel less comfortable talking about the spiritual part of those that we serve. And when I think about supporting people in nature, I think about how we can have those deep connections to nature that could, in a way, support that spiritual development of a person and what's called spiritual integration, perhaps. Okay, and so I've been doing a deep dive, as many of you know, in creating a framework. And it's really a holistic framework because I think we sometimes get caught up in using a specific approach with our clients. And perhaps because we're more skilled in that area. For example, maybe we are more of a top-down therapist and we really focus on cognitive behavioral interventions. And that's what works and that's what we're comfortable with. And that's because the evidence shows that that's effective. And then perhaps there's therapists who are really comfortable and skilled at the bottom-up approaches, and maybe that's using a sensory integrative framework to guide that process of really building capacity in the nervous system. And then we might have other therapists that have really done a deeper dive into holistic OT and using complementary and alternative medicines to guide and to support clients, okay? And so I think evidence is important, evidence-informed practice is important, but I think what we need to use as our guide is looking at the client and what matters. And so when I think of spirituality, and you can go to AOTA, American Occupational Therapy Association, where they talk about spirituality, and they also note that most therapists don't feel equipped to really look at this component of a person closer. And of course, I work with children, but I think it's important on the intake to find out the belief systems of the families that you serve. And why does that matter? Because I think when we are working in nature, there is evidence to say that we have these peak experiences and these moments of awe in nature that can really support our spirituality, meaning that spirituality is feeling connected to something bigger than ourselves. And for some people that can have a religious context to it, right? And it's not good or bad, it just is, and knowing this. And yet I have families that come where they deeply value the nature connection and they feel very much a part of that natural world. And for others, it's one and the same. It's a higher being, a higher power, but also drawing from that, from being outside in nature. And so I think doing nature-based work, there's a real opportunity to really support people in that integrated whole of being connected to something bigger than ourselves. And in that connection of something bigger than ourselves is a space of finding purpose And in that purpose, we build resilience. We find flow. We find harmony. We have a toolkit of sorts that can really support us in health and well-being. But the important piece is here, and I would love to hear your feedback on this, because this is the world according to me after I've done all this reading, is that we focus on what matters to our client, what occupations matter, but we can't forget the holistic part of the person, and asking the questions from the get-go about what are their belief systems, what do they find value in, where do they find connection, what really lights them up. And in essence, we're helping them discover maybe their sense of purpose in the world. And it could be as simple as, I tell the story about this client who we were engaging in a gardening activity, and we're working on bilateral skills and balance and all of these body structure pieces. But in this moment, he turns and says, I feel like such a professional. And, he's just all in and so proud of himself and so in flow and so happy. That for me, that was a connection that to having a sense of purpose. And in that, he felt so empowered by that. And for this could be another quick video, but joy as an outcome measure. I believe it to be true, that joy is a true outcome measure. So any mind, body, and spirit. So in this framework that I'm developing, I'm looking at the whole person and including that spiritual component and how we could facilitate that outdoors in nature, and asking upon intake what those belief systems are of the families that we serve, and to ensure that we are incorporating that belief system into the work we do through intervention. All right, so I would love your thoughts and feedback. I think we talk about the whole person and how that can look really beautifully in nature and being outdoors. All right, everybody, see you down the road. Bye-bye.